Good evening. It is 6:35 p.m. Welcome to the January 24th regular meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission. This is a hybrid meeting with commissioners, city staff, and members of the public participating at the Arriaga Family Recreation Center in accordance with public health guidance for in-person meetings and members of the public participating remotely. I would like to introduce commissioners and staff present. Okay, my name is Chair Maren Gunyakit, Commissioner Peter Joshua, Commissioner Woman Lee, Commissioner, a new commissioner, Amisha Oza. Welcome, Commissioner Kelsey Terrio. And we will see staff present includes Library and Community Service Director Sean Reinhardt, Assistant Library and Community Service Director named Shagda, sorry. Let's see, we have Library and Community Service Manager Natalia Jones, the others. Library and Community Service Supervisor Rondell Howard. Library and Community Services Supervisor Tricia Mullen. And Management Analysis Ashley Walker. Ashley will be helping facilitate the meeting. Ashley, will you please take a moment and provide instructions to the commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Thank you, Chair. For members of the public who are attending this meeting virtually and wish to provide public comment, after the chair calls for public comment on the item you wish to speak on, please engage the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. For those who are calling in from a landline or cell phone, please press *9 to raise your virtual. For members of the public attending in person, there are speaker cards available on the table. Please complete one and turn it into a staff member before public comment is called for the item you wish to speak on. If there are a large number of public commenters, time limit may be adjusted by the chair in order to allow everyone a chance to comment. When your turn for public comment has arrived, staff will unmute you. With that, I'll return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you. Under public comment, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda. Therefore, the commission cannot respond to non-agenda items brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Ashley, do we have any public comments?
At this time, if you'd like to make a public comment on any item not on the agenda, please notify the staff liaison by using the raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're dialing in, you can use *9 to engage the raise hand function.
Do not have any public comment. We will begin tonight with item D1, a study session for Library and Community Services Strategic Plan Updates. Sean Reinhardt will introduce the item.
Thank you. And could I ask someone on staff to put the presentation on the screen? We have a brief presentation just to help frame the conversation.
You got it, Ashley. You want me to pull it up?
So while they're doing that, the department last updated its strategic plan in 2021 with the Parks and Recreation Commission at the time, as well as the Library Commission reviewed and recommended it. A lot has changed since then, so it's high time to kind of revisit it with kind of current trends and changes and outlook in mind. And so that's what we're here to do. We know there's a lot of material here. This is really like just a study session to kind of get the conversation started, take any initial feedback or comments in as much or as little detail as commissioners are comfortable with, so that we can take that back and make refinements to it. It really does help our operations and for the general public to kind of see a detailed plan for how we're going to be carrying out our services.
So let's grab it, Ashley, if you want.
You ready for the PowerPoint first?
Yes, please. Thank you. And before I dive in, I did want to note, or maybe the chair would like to know,
Hello, welcome, Keith. Yep, let's go. Okay.
Thanks. So again, just a brief slide deck. So if you could advance to the next slide, please. Thanks, Ashley. So the recommendation tonight, this is just a study session to review and provide feedback for the proposed strategic plan, and that is in attachment A of the agenda packet. Next slide, please. It's a living document that can be updated or should be updated to adapt to changing opportunities. Some significant changes and events in the city since the last update in 2021 are ongoing recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. There are new economic uncertainties in the city organization's long-term budget forecast, and most importantly and most excitingly, the anticipated opening of the Bellhaven Community Campus project later this year. This plan adapts to that. Like the current or 2021 plan, there are 8 strategic directions that are slightly modified. They're listed there on the screen. Those are kind of like the major dimensions or directions of the plan. And then each of the kind of goals and tasks sort of align with one or more of those directions. Next slide, please. And just as it drills down, this is like a sample from the matrix just to kind of talk through the different elements. You can see in this case, it's strategic direction number 1, which is delivering excellent customer service. Underneath that are a number of goals. I think there were 3 or 4 under this one. So you can see goal 1.1 is our customer satisfaction data collection. And you see for each of those goals, we have various tasks, which is that left-hand column. And each task is kind of in an individual row. It's a description of the task. Then there's what we're proposing or projecting would be the start of that task and the end for that task. In some cases, they're just ongoing. Sometimes they're a one-time project and they do have an end date. And then at the end is a performance goal or metric. How do we assess whether we were successful or not and to what degree? So those are just like the components of the plan, how it's sort of structured. Next slide, please. And then also in the packet attachment D, city staff created a scorecard to report on the progress toward the goals in the previous or current strategic plan from 2021. So that's that far right-hand column in the matrix here, and it's as of this month. So you can see, you know, it'll say achieved, or it'll say pending, or it'll say ongoing, as the case may be. And so that's what the scorecard is in attachment D. It's kind of a look back. Next slide, please. And then just a reminder, there are some related strategic and master plans that are relevant to the department's operating strategic plan. The city council sets its goals and priorities each year. They're actually due to revisit their priorities and goals, I think in March of this year, and we'll share that date when it's available. The Parks and Recreation Commission does have its own annual work plan, which I believe the PRC last reviewed and recommended in September, if I'm not mistaken, and the city council accepts it each year. And then of course the Parks and Recreation Facilities Master Plan, which has been a subject for the commission the past few months with the update to include pickleball. And then we haven't touched on this too much in recent months, but there is a Bedwell Bayfront Park Master Plan. That's the city's kind of a unique passive recreation, nature-oriented park. Formerly a landfill, now a beautiful open space park on the Bay Shore next to Donovan Preserve. In the presentation, those are links that lead to those plans in case you want to look at them. And then I think that's the end of the slide deck. And so just have a few questions on the screen. We'd love to hear the commissioner's feedback. Understanding you may not have absorbed every single element of the plan, but maybe some things kind of stood out for you. So for example, are there goals and tasks that we missed that you think we should add? Are there particular goals that are really of greatest interest to the commission for possible like more in-depth future review, either right now or at a future meeting? Are there any questions or comments about the 2021 scorecard, kind of like a report card of achievements for the last plan, and any other feedback that you may have to offer? And maybe we can sort of leave those on the screen for a while, so as prompts for a conversation. And that concludes the presentation.
Actually, do we have any public comment on this item?
At this time, if you'd like to make a public comment on this item, please bring the comment forward. If you're on Zoom, please notify the staff that you're on video and raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're dialing in, you can use star 9 to engage the raise hand function. And then you're on comment.
Thank you. With that, public comment is closed, and we will begin, we'll open the item for commission discussion. Are there any commissioners that would like to, start off with the first question, if there's any goals or tasks that if we fit to that for 2024? Or we can also include goals that are of greatest interest for our group as well to review. I think for me, the interesting to review back ones are the new campus over at Belhaven is up and running to see if there's other potential new things or reviewing things that we have within our strategic plan that we can, I guess, update or give feedback to. I'll pause for those specifics for that specific campus.
Yeah, good comment. It stands to reason that after the new campus opens and has been operating for a few months, almost certainly we'll have new insight into things that might need to be added or changed or tweaked in the strategic plan based on how it's actually used and how it's actually running.
Kind of breaking news, there's something that's landing in that part, the constraints. City.
Couldn't quite think how.
In the slide deck, it was a mention of budgetary constraints that the city is now facing implementing some of the aspects of the plan. Can you elaborate on what those?
Yes, thank you for the question. So there's a few things. First of all, kind of on a macro level, local government, like economics, kind of do run on a cycle. You know, the last major recession was associated with the pandemic. It's kind of a one-off. Prior to that, there was the Great Recession. Typically, that cycle is anywhere from 8 to 10 years. You know, where it's tied a lot to the city's revenue streams, which are primarily in our city, property taxes and related taxes, sales tax, to some extent transient occupancy tax, and critically a utility users tax. The city basically had a utility users tax that was approved by voters many years ago. It required a renewal by the city council every couple of years as part of the ballot measure that was approved by voters. There was a snafu some years ago, I think it was in 2016 or 2017, where that approval didn't actually happen, which actually led to the tax being invalidated. It was contested. I think there's still some additional like legal review that's happening around that, but the expectation is that the tax will no longer be collectible unless the voters of Menlo Park approve a new tax to replace it. My understanding is that source of revenue is on the order of $1.6 to $2 million a year, depending on the economics of a given year. That's a pretty significant chunk. In addition, because the invalidation was a few years back, there were taxes already paid that may actually need to be refunded to the taxpayers who paid them, which would be a one-time cost on the order of I'm not sure exactly the number, but it's in the $4 to $6 million range, something like that. So there's that. In addition, there is just like a structural long-term deficit that is projected for like in a 10-year forecast, where just like the costs and the revenues are just sort of kind of spreading like that. And so, you know, there's, you know, efforts need to happen now in order to sort of bend that down so that there isn't that extent of the deficit, you know, 10 years out. So those are some of the main impacts that goes all the way down, because most of the the city's expenditures are really just related to operations, like delivering services to the residents. So if we have a smaller expenditure budget, we really have to kind of look at, well, where can we reduce expenditures in order to, we always have to pass a balanced budget. Even when there's a deficit, it would, in order to balance it, there would need to be the use of one-time reserves. Those are finite, can't always do that. So then you have to start looking at reducing ongoing expenditures, which almost always results in, well, you have to kind of look at what you're spending on services and how you can reduce that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are we looking to, for a motion to approve this resolution, or is this more of a?
Well, I think our staffs, since this is the first time that we're showing you like the updated plan, you may recall that the commission received the previous strategic plan and maybe an initial scorecard or maybe back in, I think it was October or November. So this is the first time looking at the updated plan. So this is really just a study session in case there are questions or feedback. Our hope is to also bring it to the library commission later this month. Make any refinements and bring it back potentially for a recommendation at the next month or in March.
Thank you. Commissioners have any questions or comments? We'll move on to new regular business. We want approving the October 25th and November 15th meeting minutes. Please, do we have any public comment on this item?
At this time, if you'd like to make a public comment on this item, please notify the staff liaison by using the raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're dialing in, you can use the *9 function to engage the raise hand feature. And I'd also like to make a side note about some formatting changes to the minutes for the October 25th meeting, which were requested by the city clerk. It does not change any of the content. And there are copies available for everybody to review. They're in red, but they may be very small and difficult to sort of point out. So and I'll just call them out. A dash was added under item C1, and periods were added at the end of the comments under item C2. The number 2 was added under the action item for the total count. The word city was added before council so that it's consistent with other wording that's city council. And the last one, again, is just adding the number 2 to reflect the 2 commissioners who were absent, which is captured in the wording of the notes, but just not consistent with the formatting that the city clerk typically uses. So if there is a motion to approve, we would just ask that the motion include those minor formatting changes as well.
There a motion to approve the October 25th.
Did you open public comment?
We did, we don't have any. public
Sorry.
comments. Sorry.
Sorry for the
yes.
interruption.
And then just in terms of, we need to vote on them separately, correct? For the minutes, or can we put them together?
Yes.
Commissioner, is that okay, Commissioner? Anyone want to make a motion to approve both the October 25th and November 15th meeting minutes? There a motion? I'll make a motion. Okay. Is there a second?
Let's do a roll call vote. Chair Boone, Edidor.
Yes. With the changes.
Right. And Commissioner Joshua,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Oza. Yes. Commissioner Terrio.
Yes.
And Commissioner. Yes. The motion passes unanimously with Chair Brosnan absent, Vice Chair Brosnan.
Okay, great. We're gonna move on to B2, approve the 2024 Parks and Rec Commission meeting calendar. And staff will provide an introduction.
Actually, I can share this one if you'd like.
Thanks, Josh.
And should I first ask about public comments before we? So, actually, do we have any public comments?
This time, if you'd like to make a public comment, please notify the staff liaison by using the right hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're dialing in, you can use this *9 to engage your hand feature. Not having public comment.
Are there any dates in this draft schedule that need changes or we need to discuss about?
Yeah, through the chair, if I may, the reason we're bringing you, we normally have a set meeting date. It's the fourth Wednesday. It's only January, already lost a week, fourth Wednesday of the month. We don't frequently with the Parks and Rec Commission have conflicts with other commissions that or with holiday dates. That does happen later in the year in sort of the November, December, where we get sort of right up against Thanksgiving, where the fourth Thursday is the night before Thanksgiving. And so that's why we're suggesting that we meet the week before. And in December, where the fourth Thursday or fourth Wednesday is Christmas Day. And so we're suggesting meeting on the 18th. There are other conflicts with more conflicts with the Monday meetings of the Library Commission, rarely with other commission meetings with the Parks and Recreation Commission. And then the only other thing I'd like to call out is we do from time to time schedule joint meetings with the Library Commission when we are discussing things of interest to both commissions. Most often dealing with the Belhaven Community Campus, but there could be other issues. And we have one scheduled as a joint meeting, but it's not moving your meeting, it's just sort of calling it that we're asking for proper.
And if I could add, it's not shown here. But I'd like to propose that the PRC also consider the May 22nd meeting being a joint meeting with the Library Commission, and to have it in the new building. So no change to the calendar, but we would add a new asterisk there and put joint meeting, assuming that the Library Commission agrees to that, next week.
One more is that the city clerk reminded me today that she would like the commissions to schedule with the city council calendar their annual report out, which has to be done by September 1st of every year. So just something to think about maybe next month when we start doing the sort of agenda building calendars that we bring. We can put it on there and discuss about when we would like to do that. It's usually report out is usually performed by the chair. Often it's a report out on the commission's work plan, not always. And it could be formal with a presentation or informal with just getting up there and sort of giving an update.
All right, well, is there any other questions or comments? Commissioners? We'll move on. Informational item.
Actually, we were kind of hoping that the commission would approve the calendar.
Okay. There are no changes to this draft calendar. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Yes.
Commissioner Joshua?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Promotion.
Commissioner Upton?
Yes.
Commissioner Terrio? Yes. Is unanimously? Great.
Great. We'll move on to F, informational items. Informational items are contributed to the Parks and Rec Commission and staff's effort to provide an update on matters of importance to the commission. Informational items are not action items. However, a commissioner, city staff member, or a member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. We will start with F1, building and community campus updates. Tom will provide a brief introduction to this item.
Yes, thank you. So really the information's in the report. I'll just note that the topics that are covered, one is a overview, a review of the naming process, which culminated in the city council selecting names for the new campus. That was on November 18th. So there's just the report out on that. There's a report out on December 5th. The city council adopted a resolution for operating budget for the new Bellhaven Community Campus facility, the new full-time personnel and operating expenditures. So that's in the report. There is an update on the construction and opening timeline. So as you may have guessed, when I suggested that the May meeting be in the new building, we are anticipating being open by then, which is very exciting. And then furniture and equipment is scheduled to be delivered to the new building next month. And in addition, there's some other kind of outline of the different phases of opening up the building in this report. So we're happy to answer any questions you might have about any of those topics.
Last time you mentioned something about waiting from PG&E for electrical work. Has that hurdle been cleared at this point?
Yes, substantial, I'll just say advocacy was directed toward our friends at PG&E, and they came through, and the building does have electricity. And so that was allowed the rest of the construction to proceed, so we're still on track.
Is the track still being, the track in the field still being, was that in the plans?
Yes, and one of you all have an update on that?
Yes, so the track and field is still scheduled for update, but it's not going to proceed until the building is completed, and then once we get the youth portable that sits in the back. So once that's completed, and that's gone, and then there will be some extra work that's on that parking lot in that section, but once that's done, that's when the construction or the timeline that we can have for that field to be completed, come to our hands, and we can hand that out. But right now, we don't have the official. Just a few minor hurdles that we have to cover.
Actually, do we have any public comment on this item?
At this time, if you'd like to make a public comment, please notify the staff liaison by using the feature at the bottom of the meeting screen. If you're dialing in, you can use *9 to engage the raise hand function.
We do not have any public comment. Are there any further questions or comments for the city staff? We'll move on to F2, department updates and status. Staff will provide a brief introduction for this item.
Who wants to? I've got the front of the
Who's
report.
it?
Go ahead. Nick.
We just are in the habit, a good habit of providing commissions with updates on sort of statistics that are interest to the commission, as well as the responses that we collect to our suggestion box, both the physical suggestion boxes in our facilities and our online suggestion box. So we just like the sort of, we're a little behind on the suggestion box suggestions and responses. So we just package them up and present them. If you have any questions, comments, should we measure this, measure that? Answer that question differently, anything like that.
I just want to say I appreciate that you take that time to thoughtfully try to reply to comments and or seek answers to responses, especially if it's written or emailed, or even when we have residents emailing us on things that might not even be related to our jurisdiction. You're still able to provide them with at least somewhere to get the answers. Appreciate it.
Yep, got a good team. And if they can't find the answers, they can usually find out where to find the answers.
If I could chime in before moving on from this item, just did want to highlight for the commission, pickleball related updates that are in there, since it's been a hot topic for the commission over the past year. So the city did perform maintenance on the outdoor lighting at the Nealon Park tennis and pickleball courts for the winter season. So they should be all good to go. I know there was some of the lights were out, and that was causing some, well, inability to see, which is not good. So that's been fixed. And then the other is that the city council on January 9th approved the updated master fee schedule. And you may recall that the commission recommended to eliminate the tennis key drop-in fees for tennis play. So they actually approved that. And so on February 8th, there will no longer be a fee for drop-in play at the tennis courts. And so we're in the process of updating the locks so that it'll just be open to the public, except when the courts, some of them can still be reserved. So if there's a reservation, that would take priority.
Yeah, in addition to that, we're adding some signages, that's gonna be at the courts as well. So, we plan on building a lot of questions, but again, it was just to make it more equitable and accessible for everybody, citywide. So I'm super excited about it. It's a new thing, but I think it's gonna work out pretty well, so. Thanks for bringing that up, Sean.
Oh, and that reminds me, I heard this afternoon from one of our public works colleagues that the fence at Nealon Park, the ball field fence, which was a matter of concern for some folks who came in front of the commission, is being repaired now. So they're working on it, weather permitting, starting this week. So hopefully that's been out of commission for a long time. A year since the storms last year at this time, it knocked over several large trees that crashed into that protective netting and fencing around the ball field at Nealon Park.
Yeah, but the post has been submitted in with that. I think it's just connecting the chain fence and then adding the top netting part. So I think that's gonna be done by no later than next week. So a lot of upgrades are happening. It took some time, but we're finally getting it done. So.
Oh, and we were talking staff were talking before the commissioners came into the room that the clay structures in Burgess Park are now under upgrade. So, and maybe we'll report out on this next one. The construction at Willow Oaks Park is proceeding along, the new play structures, new fencing, bathrooms, and dog park are all being installed there.
What about for pickleball? I remember there was ask for trash cans, extra trash cans. Is that a thing?
That was updated as well, so they were able to get that out there. And the gate, so not only that, they have an extra entrance and an extra way, so, yeah, we were able to do that.
Awesome, great. Ashley, do we have any public comment on this item?
At this time, if you'd like to make a public comment, please notify staff liaison by using the raise hand feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're dialing in, you can use *9 to engage the raise hand function.
Not having public comment. Commissioners, anybody have anything else to add or discuss, or questions or clarification for this item?
I have a quick question about the zip line at Nealon. Is there any, I know it's not there now, is that permanent, or is there anything happening with that?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So, we didn't do a tentative agenda calendar this month. We're focused on just getting the dates. But it's an item that needs to come back to the commission, what to do there. It's a bit of conflicting uses there, with the noise but with still wanting to have an amenity that enables children of all abilities to play together on the same, play structure, and so we're gonna come back to the commission to talk through some options.
We'll move on to G, commissioner reports. Would any commissioner like to make a short report out on items of interest to the entire commission? Yes. With that, we would Meeting is going to be adjourned at 7:10 p.m.
Thanks, everybody.